Your adult children want you to downsize, but they don't want to tell you these 5 things because they don't want to hurt your feelings. My name is Corinda Wong. I've been in real estate over 35 years, and I specialize specifically in helping families with their downsizing process. Truth 1, they don't want most of your stuff, not because they don't love you, but because they have their own things, their own lives, their own belongings. Some of the things that you think are treasures, the kids think are old and unnecessary. So it's not that they don't want to keep it because they don't want to hurt your feelings, but they know they can't keep it because it's not going to fit with what their life is. Truth number 2, they're worried about you physically managing your home, but they don't want to say anything because they don't want to feel like they're treating you like a child. I'm at the demographics where my parents are getting older, and I'm concerned about them, and most of my friends are. So we don't want to make our parents feel bad, like they're not in control of their own lives, their own home and everything. But it does concern us when they're trying to get on a ladder to pick up small items or just do the physical work around the yard that they used to do all the time, but you see that it's so hard for them. So that's a fine line you have to be careful walking. Truth number 3, they'll help you with the move, but they can't manage the whole process. They have jobs, lives, and limited vacation time to be able to assist. It's a real common thing. The kids know that the parents need help and they want to do everything to help them. They have spent hours and hours sometimes and given up all their vacation time, all their free time, and everything is still not done. So it's better to plan ahead, plan to have somebody help during the whole process from the beginning and not have the kids and you get burned out because it can't be done in the time that you thought it would get done. It's hilarious how you think a house that you've lived in for 50 years can be cleaned out in 2 to 3 weeks. We're talking 4 to 6 months, and people don't plan for it or process through it. It's a lot that goes through. So that's part of the reason I go through the process of what order to declutter and organize so that the things that only you can do get done by you, and the things family can do can get done by family. And there's always other things that you can just get a third party to come in or other general family members to come in. You just don't realize how much stuff you have. It's sort of funny. People will spend so many months getting their house ready to sell. And then when it's actually time to move, they're like, we spent so many months getting it ready and got rid of so much, but we got to get rid of so much more stuff before we can actually move out. It's amazing how much we all collect, so that's what it is. It's collecting. And then there's a lot of decision-making process. It's probably more decision-making than you've done in a long period of time. Everything you pick up, you have to decide, keep, throw away, donate, family member. It's like, it's a process. And everything you pick up in your house, it's like decision fatigue. So you have to plan it out and work with everybody in doing it. And it burns everybody out. I do have one tip I would give for the seniors. This is my one tip I would give, is knowing that this is coming, just constantly declutter a little section every month. You don't even have to be ready to do it. Just start doing it every section, a section every month. And I have had a few clients that knew that they were going to downsize and started years in advance, started getting rid of things, so by the time I do meet with them, they're down to a core amount, and it's not that difficult to do, but it's a decision they made and just started working on it, was comfortable. And I've had some that call me and then they need it done within a month, and it's really difficult to get it all done. The hardest part is, like I said, about the decision, and you get fatigued making those decisions to make so many decisions at one time. They just start throwing papers away. And sometimes we need those papers when we're filling out a disclosure statement, like warranties, or they need some receipts for taxes to show their bases of their homes, and just things that they've kept for years, which is good, important paperwork. But when they start getting rid of stuff, they'll just start throwing boxes and boxes of things away. And then they realize later on, oh, I wish I would have kept that. And it's like 30 years they kept it, and then they just got rid of it like a week ago, and then they need it now. Truth 4, they're terrified you'll wait until there's a health crisis and they'll have to coordinate everything in emergency mode. When somebody falls, somebody has a stroke, a heart attack, anything of that nature, it's totally unexpected. And sometimes they just have to go in and redo the house. Not everybody has to sell when they have a crisis. You can go in and modify the home to live in place. So there's always that option. the families can figure out how to keep them living in place, especially if there's a spouse that can work with them. But sometimes they have to move. They need the funds to care for the family member who's gotten injured. And it becomes very difficult because the kids sometimes don't know what decisions to make for the parents. They're very petrified of getting rid of things that the parents might want, but then they want to get the house, ready to sell. It's a huge undertaking doing it yourself, but doing it for somebody else, especially if funds are needed because care is needed. Some people are fortunate enough, they're in great financial situation. If something happens, they're fully set. But some people, their assets and all their funds are in their home. And if they have a need for physical care as they get older, they have to sell their house to tap into those funds. So that's when it becomes really difficult and it's really hard for the kids. And they are very scared that they'll get stuck doing that. That's why they watch you. They get concerned when you start doing things. They think that you might get hurt. They want you to eat well and they give you a hard time about what you're doing because they just want you to stay healthy. Before I get to truth number 5, if you need help having these conversations with your parents or kids, I have a link in the description below so you can schedule a call with us. Truth 5, they want you to be happy and free, but they need you to make the first move. They can't push you into the decision. I've had lots of clients who've done this downsize, and usually the first move, when it goes the smoothest, is done maybe even a year before they're actually ready to move. They call and say, hey, we're just thinking about this. And the first step we do is just sit, talk, go through what a process will look like. But then we mostly spend most of the time talking about where they'll be going. Because I think understanding where they're downsizing to, because some people downsize to a smaller home, some people downsize out of state to be with family, and others downsize into elderly housing, senior living, something of that nature. So I think understanding where they're going to go to gives them a framework of how they want to do the timing and what they want to do. So that's usually the first step, is just say, hey, I'm thinking about this. You don't even have to be ready to sell. You don't have to be ready to downsize, and it could be a few years. But I have helped lots of clients and it's taken several years. And then I had one recently that just got into Kahalanui, and we worked together close to 4 years trying to get their home ready for them to move into Kahalanui. We also had to wait till they were number 1 on the list, but it was a good process that we started early because we were able to do a lot of things over time and not feel too rushed at the beginning. These are the 5 brutal truths, and I know having the conversations are hard, but if you have them before there's an emergency, it really makes all the difference. And if you ever need help having conversations with family or just starting the discussion about downsizing, feel free to call or text me at the number. Give me 24 hours to respond back to you, and I'll be happy to set up an appointment to do a discussion with you about your needs. Thank you.